the podcast designed. Okay, looks like we just went live. So, let's start over. Welcome to Live Without Limits. Your breakthrough starts here. The podcast designed to help you unlock your potential, overcome obstacles, and create the life and success you deserve. I'm your host, Davida Shensky, career and personal development strategist, and each week we'll explore powerful insights, practical strategies, and inspiring stories that will empower you to grow personally, professionally, and financially. Whether you're looking to build confidence, strengthen your mindset, launch a business, improve your relationships, or simply become the best version of yourself, you're in the right place, because no matter where you've been or what challenges you faced, your breakthrough starts right here. So let's get started and discuss how to live without limits. And today's episode is titled Mood Follows Action. Don't wait for it. Make it happen. And if you've ever said things like, I don't feel motivated right now, I'll start when I feel ready. I just need to get in the right mood. I'll do it tomorrow when I have more energy. Then this episode is going to challenge you, but in a way that changes everything. Because here's the truth. Most people never learn early enough. You don't act because you feel good. You feel good because you act. Mood is not the starting point. It is the result. And once you understand that, you stop being controlled by your emotions and start directing your life with intention. So today, we're breaking it down into 3 powerful things. Why waiting for motivation is keeping you stuck, how action actually creates your emotional state, and a practical system to move even when you don't like it. So let's get to it. Understanding motivation and what motivates you is so important, because different personalities have different ways of being motivated. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the motivation myth and why you feel stuck. One of the biggest lies people believe is successful people feel motivated all the time, and that is completely false. Successful people don't wait for motivation. They understand how unreliable it is. Motivation is emotional weather. It changes constantly. Some days you feel energized. Some days you feel tired. Some days you feel confident. Some days you feel uncertain. If you build your life only when the weather is good, you will always be inconsistent. So let's break it down simply. Motivation is not a fuel source. It's a byproduct. You don't wait for motivation to clean your house. You start cleaning, and halfway through, you feel better. You don't wait to feel confident before a workout. You start moving, and confidence shows up during the workout. You don't wait to feel organized to start planning your life. You start planning. Clarity begins to form. So the real problem is not lack of motivation. The real problem is we are trying to feel our way into the action instead of acting our way into feeling. And that keeps people stuck for years. Because every time you say, I'll do it later, I'm not in the mood, tomorrow will be better, you are reinforcing one identity. I only act when I feel like it. And that identity will quietly control your entire life. For one thing, we allow ourselves to think and believe that motivation comes from outside us, but we have to be able to motivate ourselves. It's intrinsic. And you're not always going to feel motivated when you get up in the morning. And I can tell you this much, that exercise is very much an important part of my life for one reason and one reason only: mobility. And that's because I have a physical disability, and that physical disability affects how I walk, how I move. And when I was very, very young, I had to wear a walk-on brace to be able to walk correctly. And then when I turned 14, they did surgery, which allowed them to release the tendons and give me a little bit better mobility. But here's the kicker: I did not exercise. The only thing I did for exercise is that we had a stationary bike in the house, but I never learned to ride a bicycle and go outside, and I don't have the best balance. And it wasn't until I was in my 30s and they started opening up these health clubs where you could go in and work out on machines that I started going on a regular basis. And all my mother ever said to me is, "Why are you paying that money?" When you know what? The thing is that when I turned 16, my doctor told me I did not have to wear the brace all the time. All I had to do was sleep in it. And that was important to me because I was a child during an era when there were no laws that guaranteed people with disabilities the right to an education or the right to employment. And so what happened? My society did not recognize the disability community. My family acted in the same way. All my mother wanted to do was use it as a way to keep me from being the person I was truly meant to be and to keep me dependent on her. And so then what happened? Once I started exercising and taking care of myself and living on my own, my mother tried to constantly belittle me and tell me, "Why are you spending the money? Why are you doing that?" But the difference was that I was able to keep off the walk-on brace for 50 years. And as I got older and I couldn't catch my balance as often, then it became important to me to do what was right. And that meant if I had to put it back on, that allowed me to be able to walk better and not fall as much, because as you age, your balance does not stay the same as when you're younger. And for many years, because I exercised, it was easy for me to catch my balance when my foot would catch on the floor or on any kind of rubber and would stick. But as I got older, that became more and more of a problem, and therefore I knew it was more important that I go out and actually exercise to make sure that I kept that balance. Now, let's talk about the truth that action creates mood. Let's shift everything now. Here is the core principle of this episode. Mood follows action, not the other way around. Your brain does something very important. It responds to behavior first, feelings second. When you move your body, your brain chemistry changes. When you compete or complete the task, your confidence increases. When you take action, your identity starts to shift. And even small actions matter. Let's say you feel low energy and unmotivated. If you stand up, drink water, make your bed, take a shower, walk for 5 minutes, you don't just do tasks, you change your state. Now contrast that with staying still, overthinking things. Anxiety increases, procrastination increases, self-doubt increases. Stillness without direction doesn't create peace. It often creates stagnation. So the question becomes, are you waiting for your mood to change? Are you willing to change your mood through movement? Because one leads to control over your life. The other leads to emotional dependency. And emotional dependency looks like, I can't do it today. I'm not in the right headspace. I don't feel like myself. But high performers don't ask, do I feel like it? They ask, what would I do if I didn't negotiate with my feelings? Now, let's look at it this way. We have to motivate ourselves. And one thing I know is, it's like when I get ready to go to bed at night and I'm thinking I gotta get up and go to the gym. It's like, do I really want to do that? Don't I want to do that? But you know what I do? When I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is I make my bed. Then I start getting dressed. And the first thing I do is, knowing that they're picking me up at a certain time, I don't have time to procrastinate. What I do is this. I get dressed, I make myself my breakfast, and while I'm eating, I'm putting things and organizing things, and I'm making sure that as soon as I finish eating, I go and I brush my teeth and I wash my face. And that usually all takes about an hour, and it's usually time for them to pick me up just as I finish getting ready. So I don't have time to procrastinate, and I'm constantly moving. And once I get to the gym, it's just a matter of putting my bag in the locker room, getting out on the floor, doing what I have to do, and then going and changing my clothes and being ready for them to pick me up. And it just about takes me that amount of time to get things done, because I figure it takes me about 45 minutes to work the circuit that I use to exercise, to build strength, to build balance. And because I'm consistent about it, I am probably in better health than both my sisters, who do not have any type of physical disability, because I end up realizing that it's in your head. It's the mindset you have. And that mindset is usually created by the things that go on in your life on a daily basis. So you can either motivate yourself, and that's why they say one of the things to do is the night before, write down all the things you plan on doing the next day. That way, there's no reason for you not to get started. So now, let's talk about the identity shift that you are not your mood. This is where transformation happens. Most people believe, I feel unmotivated, therefore I am unmotivated. But that is not true. Feelings are temporary signals, not identity statements. You are not your tiredness, your doubt, your fear, your procrastination. These are states, not definitions. Let's go deeper. You have two versions of yourself: the reactive self that acts based on feelings, waits for conditions to be perfect, avoids discomfort, delays decisions, and then you have the directive self that acts based on intention, moves regardless of mood, builds discipline, creates momentum, and every time you act, despite resistance, you strengthen the directive self. Every time you wait, you strengthen the reactive self. So the real question is, which version of you are you training every day? Because you are training one of them whether you realize it or not. Training yourself. This all depends on your mindset. What's going on in your head at that moment? And think about it. In transactional analysis, we talk about the parent, the adult, and the child. The child often says, I want. List all the things you want. See if they're the things you truly want or the things that someone else told you you should want. And then the parent says you should. And write down all the things that your parent told you you should do. And then think about the adult. And the adult says, I am able to. And write down all the things that you believe you are able to do. Because that is truly who you are, and that is truly who you were meant to be. Because here's the secret. We all have something that we were meant to do. And in doing so, what are we doing? We are training ourselves to be motivated from within and acting from within. You know, there's another thing that we talk about where we talk about how someone can constantly belittle you by telling you you can't, to the point that at times you literally believe you can't do something. And then that also, what that does is once you set the goal for yourself and you start working on it, what happens? Well, then you literally put the brakes on because you are afraid or fear that you will fail. And that failure is put in your head by someone else. Or it may have been something that you experienced at one time, but instead of looking at it as a learning experience, you took it as something as the meaning to stop trying, or someone told you to stop trying. Therefore, you have to begin to understand and accept where you're coming from, why you react that way, and how you can change it. Now, let's talk about the momentum effect. Why small action changes everything. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior. Think of it like this. A stopped object requires the most energy to move, but once it starts moving, it becomes easier to continue. Your life works the same way. The hardest part is not doing the whole task. The hardest part is starting. Once you start, your brain shifts into execution mode. Resistance lowers. Focus increases. Energy often rises. This is why people often say, I didn't feel like doing it, but once I started, I was fine. This is not coincidence. This is neuroscience. So here is a powerful rule. Never trust your feelings at the starting line. Your feelings at the beginning are often the most misleading. They are shaped by comfort bias, fear of effort, desire to ease, but your future self is built in motion, not in hesitation. So even the smallest action matters. So 2 minutes of work puts you, and here's something that you can do for 2 minutes. 1 email, 1 page, 1 call, 1 stretch, 1 decision. Because small actions don't just complete tasks, they break resistance. And breaking resistance can help you put yourself exactly where you want to be. The 5-minute rule, how to break procrastination instantly. Let's make this practical. If you struggle with getting started, use this, the 5-minute rule. Tell yourself, I only have to do this for 5 minutes. Not forever, not perfectly, just 5 minutes. Why this works? It removes pressure. It bypasses resistance. It tricks the brain into starting. It builds immediate momentum. Most of the time, after 5 minutes, you keep going, or you've already broken the mental block. Either outcome is a win, because the goal is not perfection. The goal is activation. Here's how to apply it. If you're avoiding working out, do 5 minutes. Writing, write 1 paragraph. Cleaning, clean 1 area. Studying, read 2 pages. Planning, write 3 bullet points. And then stop if you want to. But you'll notice something. Most of the time, you won't stop, because action changes mood faster than time ever will. And what we're talking, think about it. When we talk about time management, one of the things that stops us with time management is procrastination. And procrastination is often the idea of putting off what you can do tomorrow. And you know what? Tomorrow never comes. Because when it's tomorrow, you will repeat the same thing over and over again. So tomorrow never comes. The idea is to get started right now and not allow yourself to put yourself into that idea of just putting it off and putting it off. So now, let's talk about emotional leadership, mastering your inner state. At the deeper level, this is not about productivity. This is about emotional leadership. Most people are emotionally reactive. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel confident. They wait to feel inspired. But emotionally strong people generate readiness, generate confidence, generate momentum. You don't ask, how do I feel? They ask, what state do I need to step into right now? And then they act into that state. This is how leaders operate. This is how high performers operate. This is how creators operate. They don't wait for life to align with their mood. They align their mood with what life requires and what changes everything. So, here we are talking about how we motivate ourselves. And the next thing we want to talk about is what stops people from hidden resistance. Let's be honest about what actually stops people. It's not laziness. It's fear of failing, fear of not doing it perfectly, fear of discomfort, fear of judgment, overthinking everything. So instead of acting, people delay. But here's the irony: delaying doesn't remove fear, it amplifies it, because now you don't just have the task, you have guilt, pressure, anxiety, mental buildup. Action clears that emotional noise. Inaction multiplies it. So every time you act, you are not just getting things done, you are cleaning your mental space. And actually, you're helping yourself recognize what's happening and why it's happening and what you can do in order to take action, to change your behavior, to not react, but to act first before you know it, so that therefore you can keep yourself in that place that can help you build yourself and build the kind of life you truly want. And remember, each of us are unique, and each of us have certain specialties that we do that no one else can do. So do not allow someone to criticize you because they're basing your behavior on how they would react, not about what makes you unique and different from them. So let's talk about building the action first lifestyle. Let's bring this into daily life. If you want to live by this principle, here's your framework. Start before you feel ready. Readiness is built, not found. Move your body first when stuck. Movement shifts emotional faster than thinking. Do the smallest version of the task. Shrink resistance until it disappears. Stop negotiating with emotions. Feelings are real, but not always relevant. Focus on identity, not mood. Ask, what would the disciplined version of me do right now? Then do that. And think about all these things that you need to do and take yourself and put yourself in that position. So let's bring everything home now. If you take nothing else from this episode, take this. You do not need a better mood to change your life. You need a decision to act anyway. Your mood is not the boss of you. It is something you can influence through movement, through action, through intention. And the movement you stop waiting to feel ready, you step into a completely different version of yourself. Not the waiting version, not the overthinking version, not the stuck version, but the version that moves. Even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's uncertain, even when it's not perfect, because that version understands something powerful. Life doesn't respond to intention alone. It responds to action. So today, don't wait for the mood. Make the mood follow you. And start small. Start imperfectly and start now. So, let's take it, and I'm going to finish this up with a story. That one thing I found is growing up, that when I don't go to the gym, the first thing I do is because I need to move. And I'm always someone that cannot sit still very long. So just about once an hour, I take a nice little walk around the neighborhood. And the first thing I do before I even eat breakfast is I will get out and I will walk around the parking lot just to get moving. Because for me, I know movement is that one thing that helps me get going. And mobility is very much a part of my life. And I often, when I sit too long, constantly have to get up and move, even if I do nothing but just move around the room.